Hello, you guys. So, I just wanted to share something with you guys. So, my anxiety started messing with me out of nowhere. I woke up feeling great and took my iron pills like I'm supposed to. Did the dishes, did all this stuff, right? And everything was great. Then, out of nowhere, I started feeling really bad nausea. So, I came and laid down. And so now I'm trying to figure out what triggered it or what's going on, if it is anxiety or if it's not. So I want to kind of just take this moment to share with you guys what I run through in my head when stuff like this happens. So, like, the nausea is there. So I always think logically first. So I'm like, okay, well, I did take my pills and I drank this like green drink stuff that you mix. Like, you have like this, it's like a syrup that you add water to and it turns into like a green drink. Anyway, that's what I took with my iron pills. And I took that, but that's all I've had, like, all morning, all day. I did have a couple of sips of some coffee when I made some for my husband, but other than that, like, that's all I've had. So I started thinking, well, logically speaking, maybe I'm just really hungry, or maybe me having that juice on an empty stomach is making the nausea, happen. And then I start thinking, okay, well, what was I thinking at that time when the nausea and everything started? I also have a tooth pain going on right now. So my tooth, all right here, these teeth right here, are hurting really, really bad, like real bad. I've been brushing them and like really aggressively and doing like the mouthwash, doing all kinds of stuff to try to make that go away. And so that's hurting. Even right now, all of this is hurting me. I'm in pain. So I started thinking, okay, well, maybe it's the tooth pain, is making the nausea, and then in combination with whatever else I'm dealing with. I start thinking, well, and then, like I said, I start thinking, like, what thoughts, because thoughts can actually trigger anxiety as well. So what thoughts am I having? I was doing the dishes, and I don't know, I was listening to a book called A Gospel Primer while I was doing the dishes, but that wasn't anything. It was all like scripture, me listening to how to basically preach to yourself kind of thing. It's a really good book. But for those of you who are trying to be good Christians. But so I was listening to that, so I don't know. And then my husband had woken up and he wasn't feeling too well, so maybe that had something to do with it. Like, I sit here and I question everything around me, and I'm sitting here like, okay, so what is making me have this? And then I start feeling really fatigued and tired, and then, like I said, the tooth pain is still there. And and then I tell myself, well, is there any real reason? Like, is there a rational fear, or is it an irrational fear? Irrational fear. And so my rational fear is, well, I really don't have a rational fear, because when it comes down to it, too, when I think about my anxiety, it's never turned out to be anything crazy. Like I've never ended up in the hospital, other than me like freaking out, thinking, oh my God, I need to go get tested for things. I've never like ended up in the hospital or anything because of my anxiety, because of the nausea. Like, what happens with nausea? The only thing I can know that I'm triggered by is that my nausea, as those of you who have followed me for years know, that years ago I had that incident where I passed out, and that was I had the really bad nausea right before I passed out. So right before I passed out, I had the really bad nausea, and so now nausea is kind of a trigger for me when it comes to that. But I've been having nausea so regularly that it's like, it can't be that. I'm trying to be logical here, and so, like I said, these are the things that go through my head, and then I'm thinking, and then I'm reading this book right now called The Fear Cure, which is really good. Oh my gosh, if any of you who are more into like the scientific reasoning behind how you feel or what's going on, it's a great book to read. So I've been reading that, and it's talking about how to go to a place where you're completely still. It like she mentions, one of the things she mentions is like going into, like, whenever you're like above the ocean and you're in the middle of a storm and there's like all kinds of crazy stuff happening, and there's thunder and lightning and there's wind, and like you're just in this chaos, right? And as soon as you get under the water, what you're still seeing the lightning, you're still seeing all of that that's going on, but you're under the water now, so you're not feeling any of that anymore, but you still see that it's going on, right? And then the deeper that you go into the ocean, it becomes still, and there's not even a current, and so, and then when you make it to like the bottom, I mean, of course, don't think logically like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe, like start freaking out. I'm just saying, like, in a form of being like in a place of peace, then you can go down to the ground, and then you're like, I guess in a way, if you could just pretend you can breathe underwater, and you just walk around, and you're not attached to what's going on above the surface, and so, like, that's what I'm saying, like, you that's what you do. So that's what I've been trying to do now, and I'm laying here and I'm like, okay, I know I'm tired, I know I'm going through all this chaos, but what is it really, and what is that voice inside me that's telling me all these bad things? Because that's what happens. You have that little voice in you that's telling you, like, oh my gosh, you're gonna die, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna give you an example. Like with me, I can tell you what was going on in my head. Why are you feeling nausea? You're gonna have to go throw up. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to vomit. And what's gonna happen? Are you gonna have to call the ambulance? Why would I call the ambulance from vomiting? Like, why? Like that, when I'm logically thinking about my thoughts, I'm like, wait a minute, like, that's retarded, like, that's not even real. And then, like, okay, so why are you feeling this way? And yes, I'm going through a lot of stress right now. I just am. But I mean, still, you have to be logical about things. And then that little voice is saying, well, you're gonna end up in the hospital. You're gonna have to go throw up. What else was I saying? Oh, your tooth. You're gonna get sepsis. I'm over here thinking really outlandishly, and my tooth's only been hurting since yesterday. So I'm automatically jumping into sepsis. And I'm like, hello. Come on. So, but these are the things, and then I dwell on those fears for a little bit before my brain calms down, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense, And so what I'm saying is, like, you have to do that, like, figure out what your triggers are, figure out what's going on. Like I said before, one of my triggers is nausea because of what happened to me in the past. One of my triggers is the tooth pain because of the sepsis thing, me fearing that. But you have to get away from the fear, and I'm going to go more into that in another video, but I just wanted to share this with you guys because, yeah, that's what's been happening to me right now. Like this morning, then I'm worried about my husband, like, he's trying to feel better, and I'm like, okay, what can I do to help? And I'm wanting to help, and I'm wanting to do something, but I don't know what I can do. There's not really much I can do. Right now I'm still feeling the nausea. Like, I'm over here freaking out thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get up and go throw up, and yeah, all those same thoughts just cycling in my head. And then I have to think about, okay, well, what's going on? Why am I thinking this way? Where does it stem from, right? So where does it stem from? Is it stemming from something in the past? Like, why don't I feel safe when I feel these things? Like, why? And these are the questions you have to ask yourself, because when you get to the bottom of that, you're able to conquer your future feelings when it comes to these things. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you guys. Hope you all are doing great. Love you guys. Remember, you're not alone.